I am here.
Terrific. Well, I really don't need to introduce you, except to say that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And we really love working with you, Nancy. And we really respect all the great work that you've done in the legislature and will continue to do. And I'm just going to go ahead and turn it over to you and let you do your thing. Over.
Thank you, Jim. So great to see you. So great to see you, Mary, and all my good friends from 31st Street Swing Left. I've told Jim countless times that I was going to drop out of the race the day he called me back in 2019, because it was just so hard to raise money and people thought it was a hopeless cause. And he kept me in it just long enough. And you guys were there when nobody else was. You were just relentless in your support, and I meant the world to me, and I really miss you this cycle. So I'm so excited that you're coming down to Canvas. We've been raising money a little more effectively this time around, but it really was never about the money. It was about the relationships. It was about the support. I was just on a sister district call, actually, and one of my little quips to my sister, sister district didn't pick me up last time, but they did this time. And one of my little quips to them is it's people like you who put the United in United States. And you guys really got that early and often, because, you're right here, most of you. You're in Maryland, you're in DC, and the rising. I now sit on the Chesapeake Bay Commission, which is the tri-state commission that controls the monitors and controls the Chesapeake Bay. And I sit with Maryland legislators and Pennsylvania legislators and Washington, DC, and of course, Virginia. And, we really all are in this together. We really are. And you guys have always gotten that. And I just so deeply appreciate your having that perspective and understanding that. I guess I'm supposed to talk about how the campaign's going. We're down to the last 16 days. Yesterday, we had a Canvas kickoff with Governor McAuliffe here. First time he's come for one of my Canvas kickoffs, but we managed to have about 45 people show up to Canvas, which was, a big turnout for this cycle. And today we're just finishing up. You can see in the background, I'm at the coordinated campaign office because we just finished having our first ever Souls to the Polls rally, because today is the first day in Virginia history that you can vote on a Sunday. So we had some speakers and we were grilling hot dogs, and I didn't have time to ran in here and look this up so I could talk to you guys from the coordinated office. So we're staying busy. Mostly we're on doors. That's the thing. We're cautiously optimistic. The polling I'm up, but I'm still within the margin of error. I am running against a true extremist. Last time I was running against a pretty well-known, fairly moderate Republican. It is my hope that there will be some Stolly translate to Guy voters, that Tim Anderson will be a bridge too far. This is someone who owns a gun shop, who believes that we should remove all restrictions on the carrying of guns in Virginia, who championed the Citizens Defense League's Sanctuary Cities movement, who sued the Senate on behalf of Amanda Chase, who sued the Republican state party on behalf of Amanda Chase. So he's not wildly popular even within his own caucus. He also openly wants to defund public education through the use of a voucher system. He talks about it everywhere I see him. He has said that he will go as far as the Supreme Court allows in restricting abortion, which, after what happened with the Texas law and with the Dobbs case from Mississippi pending, I think it's pretty clear that it's going to go pretty far. There are 17 states where abortion will be illegal the day after Roe v. Wade is overturned. I don't want to see Virginia become the 18th. He's criticized me pretty relentlessly for my environmental stances, saying, that climate change is a hoax, blah, 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 blah. So, he really is right on out there. And I guess we've been running negative, both digital and broadcast. Last time, of course, I didn't have any kind of broadcast budget. This time I've been on TV for 6 weeks, saying, about his defense. He's, in addition to owning a gun store, he is an attorney, spends a lot of his time getting gun rights restored to convicted felons so he can sell them guns. And he also represented 2 of the insurrectionists at the Capitol on January 6th. And on one of them, he did a plea deal, and he was quoted in the Washington Post calling him a normal, good, patriotic American who just got carried away. There was nothing normal, good, or patriotic happened on January 6th. And people who normalize, condone, and defend that behavior are a danger to our democracy. And I really do consider at this time a danger to democracy. He did a digital ad early on where he incinerated a piece of cardboard representing me and my radical liberal agenda with a flamethrower. And then he started selling flamethrowers through his gun shop website the next day. Normalizing political violence against your opponents is again dangerous. And I said on TV when they interviewed me about it, I said, that's the big difference between me and Tim Anderson. He thinks that a flamethrower is an appropriate political prop. He views it as some kind of solution. I view it as a problem. So that's who we're up against. As I said, 16 days. The big focus now is on GOTV. I'm out every day. We've got big launches scheduled for the rest of the time. Christine, of course, does all our digital too. We have a good anti-abortion digital, anti his stand on abortion, a pro-choice ad running on digital right now that seems to be pretty effective. She also did a great ad for us about education, where I told Christine I thought it was the best single ad of our cycle, in that it most captured who I am and what I do this, and who my opponent is and what he's up to. So positive about that. Don't know, he did not raise a ton of money in the reporting period, but the RSLC and the Republican leadership PAC did throw $140,000 at him. So most of his money is coming from institutional party. And we just got to keep pace. And hopefully we will, so that we can stay up. I don't know what he's going to throw at me at the 11th hour. He rails all the time about how much money I raise, but I think it's just jealousy. One of his few donations, though, this cycle was from the Koch brothers, which tickled me, because he fusses at me taking money from Michael Bills, and he's taking money from the Koch. So that's the state of the race. That's the state of things in Virginia. We are still the Democratic frontier down here in Virginia Beach. And candidly, we're being pressed from 2 sides. We're being pressed from the top, because Joe Biden's sinking approval rating is hurting us, especially amongst military people who are really aghast at what happened in Afghanistan. I had nothing to do with Afghanistan, but it's hurting the Democratic brand down here. We're also getting pushed from the bottom. There's been a lot of turmoil in Virginia Beach in the wake of a police shooting last year. Pharrell Williams, the musician who's from Virginia Beach, it was his cousin, Donovan Lynch. Donovan was a constituent of mine. He was a fine young man. I really think it was, the police officer didn't have his vest on. It was a very chaotic night out at the ocean front. We still don't know what happened. Pharrell Williams has had done a huge music festival here a few years ago, pandemic, called Something in the Water, that was wildly popular and had brought in a lot of tourism dollars. And he pulled it this year, and he sent a letter saying that there was toxic energy in Virginia Beach, and he just doesn't want to be involved. And I don't say he's wrong. I mean, I don't, But my fear is that his walk away is going to excuse walkaways by other people that we need to have stay involved. The African American community has been very supportive of me. I have not had problems with that messaging at all, not in polling, not anywhere. But I've voted with the Virginia Black Legislative Caucus 100% of the time. They have been here, boots on the ground for me. I have great relationships with the African American Ministers Conference, with the president of the NAACP. But there is a kind of a discouragement, I guess is the right word, in the African American leadership community that I'm afraid is going to suppress votes, and I need those people to turn out. So like I said, we're getting pushed from the top where people are kind of sinking on Biden, and it might translate into a loss of Democratic votes. And then we're getting pushed from the bottom by people who are just discouraged with city government and what government in general does for them. And that could also suppress votes. We don't have to convince anybody who hasn't voted for a Democrat to vote for me. We just got to get them at the polls. Any
Great.
questions?
Thank you, Nancy. That was so inspirational, and I know it's going to motivate us. We're already in your corner. We're going to be even more in your corner. So we have, if anybody has any questions specifically for Nancy Guy that they would like to ask, please go ahead. You can just put them in the chat, or you can unmute yourself.
Yes.
At it.
Yes, just because I read about it, I'd like to know whether you think the issue of schools supposedly pushing critical race theory is a voter issue.
Oh yeah, and they're pushing hard. We have very radically right-wing school board members. All three sadly live in the 83rd House District, and they've been pushing that. Virginia Beach just implemented a program called the Diversity and Inclusion Program, which they claim is critical race theory. It's not. So it's been a hot topic at school board meetings. It seems to be more motivating for the people who are afraid of it than for the people who aren't. And these people really have gone all in on their crazy. These same three people brought a resolution at the last school board meeting to ban certain books from our school libraries, including Maya Angelou and a book about the civil rights movement called Good Trouble. So yeah, it's right on up there. And my opponent leans into it every time we appear together. And, you know, he has this tendency to kind of poured in his supporters, and they scream and shout and rah, rah, rah. Joan Walsh, sometimes CNN reporter, did an article about she came down to cover my race for The Nation, and she did a really good article about the forum that I was in, that I think really captured the challenges that we're facing on that and many other issues.
Could I just follow up? Do you assess it though as preaching to the choir, or do you think it has traction with less ideologically committed voters?
Like she's lost her internet for a minute.
Frozen.
Yeah.
Can't hear you.
Yeah, I think she's frozen to us, so I think that means her internet is unstable.
Okay.
Oh, we lost her. So she may pop back on, but we
I'm
don't know.
back. I don't know what happened.
Oh, okay, there you are. We lost you there for a second.
I don't know. Anyway, it's hard for me to know. But I will say that the people who don't think critical race theory is an issue are less motivated to push back at those people than those people are to push at us. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I do get questions about critical race theory, even from people in my church who I think are like rational people. Well, why are we tearing down Confederate monuments? That's just part of our history. Why do we want to destroy our history? You know, and I don't want to get into a debate in the pros and cons of Robert E. Lee. So I usually just leave it with, well, what we did was we passed a statute that allowed localities, when they determined that their populace doesn't want them there anymore, to take them down, and that seems appropriate to me. But yeah, I mean, it is definitely their dog whistle, and I think it is proving somewhat effective, and I am worried about it.
Great. Thanks for answering that. We have a couple more questions. I see Victoria you have your hand up, but first I just want to pose a question that came up in the chat, which is, what are the main issues you are running on, and are you able to capitalize on the "Don't Let Virginia Be Another Texas" theme? Is that one of the issues that you're running on?
Well, our messaging, comes out of your polling. The number one thing is always healthcare, because people have been concerned coming out of the pandemic. So we did an ad on that. We also always focus on public education, because it's an area where I have a lot of credibility and where we've done good work, and where my opponent does not have the popular stance. Choice has come into this race, in a big way, especially in the wake of the Texas case. I hear about it on doors. New York Times did an article actually about my race too. It's weird, but everybody thinks, because I'm the edge of the Democratic frontier down here in the bellwether state, that, what happens in the 83rd means something bigger. I'm not sure that's true, but it means something. But that's an issue we're running on, is pro-choice. And then finally, there's just kind of an underlying theme into our race this time, that I look out for people. I look out for the families and children of the 83rd House District, because, I've focused very, very relentlessly. I'm proud to have been part of the transformational change that's happened in Virginia over the last 2 years. But let's face it, I'm a freshman delegate, and I understand the job is representing the people of the 83rd. And I've done that. I've done that by carrying bills for the city. I've done that by carrying bills for some of my civic leagues. And I've done that by hundreds of constituents that we've helped with the alphabet soup of programs that are available to deal with this pandemic. And one of my bills was a bill to ban the intentional release of helium balloons in Virginia. It's a small environmental thing, but it's actually been championed by the Virginia Aquarium, which is headquartered here in Virginia Beach, and the city of Virginia Beach for a decade, by Republicans and Democrats alike, and it's never gotten across the finish line. And, I did some politicking, and I got it across the line this year. So we're actually running a TV ad about it, not so much because I banned although it's wildly popular, weirdly. I mean, who thinks it's not a good idea? But just because, I think the tagline then is we don't care who shouts loudest. We just want to get things done, because around here the little things are bigger than politics, and that's been a big theme. My opponent, I had a Republican actually telling me that, my opponent used to be just kind of an average guy, and then after he got all involved with the Citizens Defense League, and he started championing all these citizens, Second Amendment, sanctuary cities movements, he got this huge following. I mean, he has 124,000 followers on Facebook. And somebody said, I just think it went to his head, and he just thought he was just all that. And so he puts up these videos where he just pontificates. And, I've had 2 in-person forums with him. And in the first one, it was just very apparent that there's not a lot of depth there. I mean, he did blah, blah, blah. But, when I really challenge him on environmental issues, criminal justice issues, whatever, he doesn't have any pushback. He doesn't understand. He hadn't done his homework, and he doesn't really understand the job. He likes rushing to these fights, whether it's, suing the Senate on behalf of Amanda Chase, or suing the speaker over the closing of the Pocahontas building, or suing various cities for the Second Amendment sanctuary cities thing, or whether it's defending these people who stormed the Capitol on January 6th. He likes to stir the pot of the culture war and be in the fight. And I don't think that's the job. Now, his campaign manager, and I have to say, I've gotten a lot of good earned press. The press down here doesn't like him very much, with the exception of one TV reporter. And, they haven't been very favorable in their reporting on it. And there's always kind of a racial tinge to what he does. You know, he led the recall movement against Senator Louise Lucas down here in Portsmouth. You know, it's not his district. He went to the Chesapeake School Board, Chesapeake being our adjoining city, but he doesn't. There are no precincts in Chesapeake, and argued against the mask mandate, saying kids die. It's unfortunate. Christine made a brilliant ad about that, and it's like, kids die. Shit happens. What are you talking about? No, we're the adults in the room. Kids die. It's our job to protect them.
Oh my gosh, he is just so far out there. Well,
he really is. And so it's very frustrating for me that I can't get any distance, you know? I mean, when I say that, like, people who are paying attention, the business community is way behind me this time. I got the support of the Chamber of Commerce, the Hampton Roads Business Roundtable, and the Virginia Beach Hospitality Pact, a trifecta that's unprecedented for a Democrat, And I got it partly because I'm a very pro-business, moderate Democrat, and partly because my opponent is a nut. You know?
Well, we are going to definitely send you some reinforcements down there. Now we have time for just one more question. Victoria, you've been waiting so patiently with your question. So go ahead, unmute yourself, Victoria. And what is your question for Nancy Guy?
It relates to the impact of the federal Democratic Party on the local races. And when you meet constituents who are not excited or interested in voting as a Democrat because of what's happening with Biden and Congress, what do you say to them? How do you change that?
I have to say, I don't see that on doors.
I'm sorry?
I don't really see it on doors. I mean, I've never rung a doorbell and said, "Hi, I'm Nancy Guy, I represent you." And they're I've had a couple of phone conversations where people say, I'm disgusted with the Democrats, I'm not going to vote for them. And then I'll say, well, you know, what is it you're frustrated with? And if they articulate that it's a national issue, I say, but here in the state, you know, we've done this or that, you know, we've raised the minimum wage, we've ratified the ERA, we passed the Clean Economy Act, whatever it is, I think it's going to be an appealing issue for them. And they go, well, that's a good thing. And I'm like, well, that's what we've been up to in Richmond, you know? So, you know, it isn't.
So you turn it local. That's
good.
Good.
I mean, that's what you got to do. You've got to talk about the issue that matters to them.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Victoria, for that question. And thank you, Nancy Guy. We know how hard you are working to get every last vote. So we're giving you another round of applause, and keep going out there, and we are behind you. So thanks again.
You always have been. You guys are the best. You really are. And I hope all the races that you're supporting financially this time do as well as your crew last time did, because you have really helped to make all the difference in the world in Virginia. And I just hope we can keep it going, because I don't want to live in Texas. I may come up there and live with you guys in Maryland. Even your Republican governor is actually fairly sane. I actually got to meet him at a Chesapeake Bay thing. You know, would that other Republicans were like that sane.
We're coming
Although I
down.
hope you elect a Democrat next time.
We will
So,
see you over Halloween weekend. We hope that
I'm excited. And the weather's been beautiful down here. It's always nice down here at the beach. So build in some time, you know, and
we will bring our
enjoy
energy.
what we have to offer, and bring your energy to the doors, because we got to get these people to turn out. We really do. Hopefully they're turning out now, since we gave them 2 weeks to do it.
Thank you
Thanks,
so much
guys.
for taking the time. Take care. Good luck.
Thanks. Bye.